All right, writing 394. This is Professor Anderson 1. I hope this is the last time. I apologize for taking up 30 minutes of your time in the morning, but I want to see how this format works for including a discussion. What I'm hoping that it does is opens up a little bit more like a lecture hall style of discussion, sharing with all of you my thoughts and comments on each, so that it helps us to see where each of us needs to go within our own writing. And clearly, I need to work on cutting to the chase. Although I espouse being clear, concise, and direct and concrete, I need to do that in these videos. So bear with me as I work through figuring out how this new sort of format may work. And I am welcoming and soliciting your feedback. Please email me and let me know this worked great. It was wonderful, or hey, I couldn't stand it. You took up 30 minutes of my time. And just be as direct and honest as you can, because I need all the feedback that I can get. In the meantime, get some popcorn and sit back and just watch a video for about 30 minutes. So here I was talking about using these emotionally laden, just powerful adverbs and adjectives, are too colorful of adjectives in an executive summary. Inflames the speech. Now, inflaming can mean, it's not necessarily always a negative thing, but it just is too persuasive. What hits home much more directly are facts, figures, and numbers. So I like how you have this organized in terms of using those subheadings. Again, I would give a quick understanding of what the general purpose or what the general recommendations are. A brief 1 or 2 sentences before bullet pointing them. All right, let's take a look at this one. And here we go. Whoops. I don't know why this is. All right, so here you want to make sure that you have these subheadings highlight or defined bold, and then make sure the executive summary, because that's a portion of the research-based report, centered in much larger. Here we go. All right, so the purpose of this report, yeah, I like how you've organized that in terms of laid out different ways. You want to make sure that you very clearly describe the problem. So the problem, these cause we have extreme, determine the cause of isolation. So here you're telling me about the organization and its function with respect to national security. But the purpose of your paper is isolation in the work center. So you need to define the problem first. And what you've done here is sort of giving me a lofty, not a lofty, but you're guiding me through this discussion of where it lands. Just go straight to the point. Isolation in the workplace is a contributing factor to poor productivity. Out of 110, just the purpose of the structure of this report is to identify areas where isolation in the workplace can be addressed. I like how you facts and figures and numbers are always good inside. I would hone these down to 2 or 3 and make sure that you use just key terms in there. Give a brief description for the recommendations, and then key terms of what those recommendations would look like. And then let's go here. I think we're discussion 6-1, week 6. Let's take a look here. Okay, same. This is a very similar. Here we go. We have the same kinds of things. I recommend the same kind of thing. Morale is substandard. So if it has become, that means at this point it is. And that's part of using active voice versus passive voice. Like has become is something that's happened in the past. Is active. It's happening right now. There are several incidents indicate bigger problems. So I make sure that you identify those very specific problems. Talk about the secondary research in there too. And again, I would pick just 2 or 3 and use key terms. Give a quick definition of what it is that you say those recommendations are, and then just pick 2 or 3 bulleted points. So here we go. Oh, you know what? Your rough draft is right up here. Let's see, executive summary. There we go. I had to pull it up into my, here we go, breakdown, here we go. During breaks and downtime, you can always say, okay, here we go. This is, you're giving a description of the problem, not telling the problem. Here's a description of the problem. Here's a, avoid that first person. Instead, the problem is social media is a distraction in our workplace, period. I think that's what you're doing. This section right here goes in here. Confused how to complete the section. I'm not distributed. Okay, this section right here, findings and conclusions. You want to make sure that you include some of the secondary research that you've conducted. So, what does the secondary research say about social media? You know, time spent on social media during the work day, like the effectiveness or productivity down. What are some stats and numbers about that? And for positive uses and promotion of effective communication. All right, so you have two things here. So are you suggesting that everyone should stay on social media during the workday and use it as an effective communication? So make sure that you define that very clearly. And let's see here. So this is what we're going to see for our new announcement. It's in the process of being uploaded. I hope that was helpful. Let me go back through these quick tabs that I have pulled. This is the Victoria Business School writing. This is awesome, about clear language, how to follow very structured and templated approaches to writing clear, concise, and concrete sentence structure and development of report style. This is an awesome paper. Gosh, this is the Murdoch paper, I believe. And what I like about this is it helps you to define and identify those areas that, you know, how do I identify my audience? How can I be very clear and direct in my purpose? How can I jazz it up and be a little more creative and personal? So I love those examples. It's a very short read too. Now this is a much more in-depth read, and this is the Colorado paper, I believe. Let me go up to the front. Yep, I think this is the Colorado paper. It's all of these are in your resources. So this gives you a guide to business report writing, and this is a little more thorough, a little more in-depth of all different types of business. But basically what you will find is this key implementation, and that is really what you've already done. You determine your scope. What's the purpose? You considered who your target audience is. That's your like memo to a decision maker. You gathered and organized research. You did that in your synthesis of literature. You analyzed and weighed supporting information. That's your primary research. So you gathered your secondary, you're gathering some more primary research, you're determining what all of that means, what does it all say, and then offering some recommendations to determine a report format. So these all, I hope, are helpful. I hope that this format was helpful. If it wasn't, please be brutally honest with me in an email and let me know, hey, look, don't do this ever again. So I hope you guys have a great day, and don't worry about posting a secondary comment to everyone or one other classmate until Sunday night. So this Sunday, your rough draft, Sunday the 14th, your rough draft of your final report is due. I made a mistake in the assignments file. I want to share with you how and where I did that. It's taking forever to come up. So in the assignments file, I goofed. This is supposed to be your final copy of your decision maker is supposed to be on the 14th. So your rough draft was due on the 7th. It should have been the 14th, and this would have been the 14th as well, but I made a mistake. I'm going to go with this date because I published that long before the class started, and I missed that in my edit. So your final report for your decision maker is not due until the 28th. Your rough draft of your final report is due this Sunday. That gives you 2 weeks. That gives many people many students have often asked for 2 and 3 and 4 rewrites of rough drafts until they come to their final paper. So please don't hesitate. If you have an additional one, populate it into that rough draft. I will always give feedback. Please send me an email to let me know that you have you've sent me a separate example. And I cut this video. Here we go. And again, let me know how this worked or didn't. Oh, come on.